Hi, welcome back to Big Save Ave. Today we'll be going over some of the trades that have happened in the past couple of days. Now, there's been a lot of them, but we'll start off chronologically. So first is the Ryan Ellis trade. Now, this deal saw Ellis go to Philadelphia and in exchange for Philip Myers and Nolan Patrick. Nashville then flipped Nolan Patrick to Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Cody Glass. So what are your thoughts on this trade?
Well, I honestly really like what Philadelphia got here. They got a very good defenseman in Ryan Ellis, who, when healthy, can be a top 20 defenseman in the league, and he will go great on the right side of the top line with Provorov. That instantly improves your blue line. Myers was not very good this past season, so getting a very experienced guy like Ellis is really helpful. The cap hit's going to hurt for Philadelphia, but overall, I really liked what they were able to do here. Nashville honestly got a pretty good return for him. Phil Myers is a pretty good young defenseman. He really struggled last season, but he really thrived at the end of the 2020 season. So maybe back to a full year, normal circumstances, he might be able to thrive again. I also like what Vegas did here. I was always iffy on Cody Glass. He's never really able to get into the lineup. I really like Nolan Patrick. I really think getting him back into the lineup, fully healthy season, he could be a really good top 6 guy in Vegas. And being able to play with guys like Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone should do wonders for his career. And Cody Glass in Nashville would be pretty good if they can actually get him into the lineup. As a rebuilding team, I imagine he'll start there immediately. He could finally get his career off the ground and really blossom into a top 10 pick that he thought he was going to end up being.
All right, this next deal is not really a trade since the Coyotes didn't give up anything, but the Islanders sent Andrew Ladd 2 second-round picks and a third-round pick to the Coyotes in exchange for nothing, just as a cap dump to clear up cap space. Now, this is a pretty normal move for the Coyotes, just taking on a bad contract, but they do it again.
I really like what the Coyotes were able to do here. They had a lot of draft capital for a team who, just lost their first round pick this year and lost a second round pick last year, whose prospect pool is very iffy at best, especially for a rebuilding team, which they are now. And then the Islanders, you get Andrew Ladd's contract off the books. Now they have a lot of cap space, and they'll be able to make a big push at some of the big free agency guys. So I like what both teams did here. Both teams really were able to get something they wanted. I would give the edge in the trade to Arizona just because of all the draft capital they were able to obtain.
Now, this next deal is going to sound very familiar. The Coyotes are once again taking on a contract and draft picks in exchange for nothing. They take on Shane Gostisbehere from the Flyers, as well as a second-round pick and a seventh-round pick.
Once again, I really like what the Coyotes were able to do here. You had some draft capital, which is very needed for a nice rebuilding team. And you had a nice veteran guy in Shane Gostisbehere. He's 28 years old. His contract is not great, but the way he can play with the puck in the offensive zone is really good for a defender. And maybe he'll still be on the team after this rebuild's over, and he could make a really good impact for the Coyotes organization. I will also say I'm very puzzled why the Flyers decided to do this trade. I understand you're looking for some cap space, some nice cap relief, but I mean, Shane Gostisbehere is not that bad of a defenseman. He really started to pick things up last year, and just to give up a second-round pick to lose a player really doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. But it is what it is. Obviously, I'm going to give the win to the Coyotes here.
The next trade is the Nedeljkovic trade. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes sent Nedeljkovic to the Red Wings in exchange for Bernier and a third-round pick.
I am so confused what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing on this trade. Alex Nedeljkovic, Calder Trophy finalist. He was incredible last year, posted a 920 in the playoffs. He was very good. One of the biggest reasons Carolina was able to win a stacked Central Division. And you lose him because you didn't want to sign him to a $3 million contract. You couldn't shell out more than $1.5 million for this guy. I don't get it. He's super good. He's probably better than Jonathan Bernier on his own, and way younger. And you're not gonna have to definitely re-sign him. This trade just makes no sense. I'd probably give the Hurricanes an F on this trade. kudos to the Red Wings. You had a great franchise goalie now. They could be good as soon as next year. Red Wings easily run away with this trade. I'm not sure what Waddell was doing on that one.
This next trade involves the Seattle Kraken. They sent Tyler Pitlick to the Calgary Flames in exchange for a fourth-round pick.
I like what both teams did here. Tyler Pitlick is not a great player. You could probably find someone like him in free agency. You get a fourth-round pick in return if you're Seattle for a guy who's probably worth a fourth-round pick. And for Calgary, you get a nice fourth-line guy who can provide real stability to that fourth line. He's a very good player. He's good defensively. He's good offensively. Fair trade both ways.
This next trade involves the Flyers again. They sent Robert Haig, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick to Buffalo in exchange for Rasmus Ristolainen.
I mean, Chuck, what are you doing here? You have to give up a pick to get rid of Shane Gostisbehere, and then you decide to bring in Rasmus Ristolainen to get rid of all the cap space you just created? I mean, this is just confusing to me. And you have to give up a first-round pick for one of the worst defensive defenders in the league? I just don't get it. The fact that Reinhart went for less and then you shelled out this for Ristolainen, it's very confusing to me. I mean, if Ristolainen thrives in Philadelphia, congratulations. This trade still wouldn't make any sense to me. He's not worth this much at all. If the first round pick wasn't involved and it was just Ristolainen for a Haig and a second, I'd still be pretty upset about it because he's not worth a second on his own. And then to throw in another first round pick is very confusing to me. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I'm just worried about the Flyers shelling out all of their future assets to win now, and if they can't win now, then they're going to be screwed for the next few years. Buffalo, easy A. They win this trade by a lot.
This next trade, the St. Louis Blues acquired Pavel Buchnevich in exchange for Sammy Blais and a second-round pick.
Now, if you thought the Flyers did a bad trade, the Rangers did a bad trade. Why would you trade a first-line winger for a second-round pick and a fourth-line winger? Pavel Buchnevich is a very good player. Easily could get 30 goals next season, put up 60 points, maybe a point per game player in St. Louis if he plays on their first line. He's a very, very good forward. I guess they couldn't sign him to a contract. They got to move his RFA rights, but it still doesn't make any sense to me. Worst case scenario, I feel like somebody could offer sheet him and you'd get more than a second round pick in return. He's a very good forward. St. Louis wins this trade by a lot. Pavel Buchnevich in St. Louis should really thrive.
All right, in this next trade, the Vancouver Canucks acquired Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland in exchange for Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel, a first, second, and seventh round picks.
Now, both teams kind of lost this trade, in my opinion. The Vancouver Canucks, I mean, you got rid of 3 guys whose cap hits were and you got another bad contract. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me why you'd want to acquire Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I mean, he's a good defenseman. He's not a $8 million defenseman or even a $7 million defenseman with a salary retained by Arizona. Connor Garland is a very good forward, probably worth the 9th overall pick alone, in my opinion. To shell out the 2nd and the 7th to also get Oliver Ekman-Larsson definitely hurts. He's going to be on your books for a while, and the fact is you're not going to have a lot of cap space to re-sign Garland, Pedersen, and Hughes. So it's going to be tough to get this all to work. Vancouver could run away with this if Garland thrives as well as I think he's going to do in Vancouver, and Ekman-Larsson gets back to form. But if Ekman-Larsson continues his drop-off in play, and Connor Garland can't find the next level in Vancouver, it's going to look really bad for Vancouver.
All right, this next deal sends Seth Jones, a first-round pick, and a sixth-round pick to Chicago in exchange for Adam Boqvist, a first and a second-round pick.
I really like what Columbus was able to do here. Um, Getting Boquist, who's only 20 years old and a great defenseman already. He still has a lot of time left ahead of him. He can still get a lot better. Adding a first, moving up from 32 to I think it was 15, about something like that. Um, Gets them a lot better of a draft choice. And then adding the second, and then you knew Seth Jones wasn't going to play for you again. So to get that all for just 1 year of Seth Jones is really good. And Chicago, that is a steep price to pay, not just for the trade, but for that contract you gave him. $9 million in 8 years, $9.5 million. That's a lot of money for Seth Jones. You better beg he has a rebounding season, because he was not good last year, not even close to worth $9.5 million. It could work. It could work. Maybe reuniting with his brother Caleb can help him a lot. Maybe he is a number one defenseman in the league and can really find the next level in his defensive game. But if he can't, that contract's gonna hurt for a while.
This next trade involves Columbus again. They received Jake Bean in exchange for the second round pick that they acquired from Chicago.
I like this trade for both teams. I do think Jake Bean is worth more than a second round pick, so I do like what Columbus did here. But he really wasn't going to get the minutes he needed in Carolina to get this done. And this way you can have a little more cap space, maybe get Dougie Hamilton back. Both teams basically needed to get this done. Bean is an excellent defenseman that could really thrive with a more prominent role in Columbus. So I like what both teams did here. I would probably say Columbus is the winner, but we'll see what happens. I really like Jake Bean, though.
In yet another trade involving Columbus, the Blue Jackets sent Cam Atkinson to the Flyers in exchange for Jacob Voracek.
I like what both teams did here. Columbus gets a very good playmaking forward in Jake Voracek, and if they can convince Laine to stick around, that's someone who can feed him the puck, and Laine can absolutely fire it and maybe get back up to a 40-goal scorer possibly. Flyers get some more cap space. They get a good penalty killer in Cam Atkinson. I really like what both teams did here. I'd probably give the slight edge to the Flyers to the fact that they earned a lot more cap. They got rid of. I'd probably give the edge to the Flyers here because of the cap space they saved. But I really like what both teams were able to accomplish here. So,
in this last trade, we have the Buffalo Sabres sending Reinhart to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Devin Levi and a first-round pick.
I really like what Florida was able to do here. Sam Reinhart's a very good scorer. He could probably get you 30 goals, 35 goals in a season. And it really didn't cost you much. It cost you a first-round pick and a goaltending prospect who was really never going to get past Spencer Knight. Now, Devin Levi did have a great showing in the World Juniors for Team Canada, so that is good for Buffalo. While he was picked in the 7th round, this kid could turn out to be a really good goalie in the NHL. However, the fact that Rasmus Ristolainen cost less than Sam Reinhart is completely shocking to me. I really like what Florida did here. Sam Reinhart's a very good scorer. I'm just surprised that Kevin Adams couldn't get more in return for Reinhart after what he did with Ristolainen. Overall, good trade for Buffalo considering Sam Reinhart wanted out and they didn't really have much choice but to trade him. And good trade for Florida, getting another good scorer and really solidifying themselves as one of the top teams in the Atlantic Division.
So that's what happened in this past couple of days in the NHL. There's still a lot of time left before the season starts, and a lot more trades will happen. So what are your thoughts on these trades? Put them down in the comments below. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Avery. Thanks for watching.